Now let us consider the issue of Russian stock market and its regulation. So what we'd like to consider in that part, first of all, we will briefly cover the history of Russian stock market and the development of its activity. And then we will speak about the regulation of Russian stock market. First of all, it is important to mention that Russian stock market has been established here in the city of St. Petersburg by the order of the first Russian emperor, Peter the Great. Since the year of establishment of the city of St. Petersburg in 1703, the first exchange appeared in St. Petersburg. This exchange was dealing not only with the stocks, but mainly with the commodities and some goods, but among them some stocks have been traded, so we consider that the start of Russian stock market is dealing with that particular year. The development of Russian stock market in pre-Soviet Russia was not as fast in the countries like England or some other European countries until the last third of 19th century. Then the industrialization in Russia went to its highest point, and the development of stock market in Russia started to be much faster. And in the end of 19th century, beginning of 20th century, Russian stock market was among the biggest stock markets of the world. But the October Revolution and the start of the socialist development of the country made a substantial break of the activity of that market because of the revolution and the civil war. And re-establishment of stock market appeared since the new economic policy, or NEP, in Russia, starting with year 1921 and until the end of NEP in 1930. The stock market have been rebirthed in Russia. The Soviet government offer a possibility of the brokers and other participants of stock market to restart the activity, but only for the decade of 1920s, and in 1930 the stock market activity has been prohibited in Soviet Russia, and that prohibition had a quite long period until the end of 1980s, and only in 1990s, in the last years of the existence of the Soviet Union, the stock market was re-established in Soviet Russia, and only for the last 2 years, 1990-1991. But this stock market development was pretty special because the first exchanges which appeared in Soviet Russia were dealing mainly with commodities and other goods, like in the time of Peter the Great, and rarely with the stocks. The normal development of stock market was not started even after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and in post-Soviet Russia in 1990s, majority of the exchanges were dealing not only with the stocks, but stocks together with the commodities and some other goods. That lasted until the 1994. During that period, the most important stocks which were involved in the stock market were dealing with the voucher privatization, because every citizen of Russia was getting a voucher, the special documentation to participate in the privatization of everything in Russia. The massive voucher privatization ended in 1994, and since that time the major stocks which appeared at the stock market were the governmental bonds, especially the short governmental bonds, or GKO, And these bonds, they're very important until year 1998, until the start of the crisis. Then the government declared default on the governmental bonds, and that was a very difficult period for Russian stock market, which suffered one of the greatest decline in its history. Then the rebirth of the market appeared since the start of new millennium. Then stock market was mainly dealing with shares, and later, especially since 2003, Russian stock market was developed pretty fast and reached its record in year 2008, at the beginning of 2008 in spring. But since then, the negative impact of global financial crisis made very tragic results in the development of Russian stock market, and this market suffered one of the major decline, as it has been mentioned before. At that time, Russian stock market was deeply involved already into the development of the global stock market, and reflections of the negative development of global stock market deeply influencing the Russian stock market. On the next slide, we can consider the development of Russian stock market after the global financial crisis. We can observe the substantial increase of Russian stock market index in the year 2009 and 2010, 2011, then pretty stable development until year 2014. Some decline due to the drop in oil prices and Ukrainian crisis, and new development after 2015 until 2019. Speaking about the Russian stock market regulation, we have to consider that the major reform took part in September 2013, because before that month, Russian stock market has been regulated by the Federal Financial Market Service, FMS. That particular organ was dealing with all regulation of Russian stock market and financial markets in general. But since September 2013, all the regulation activities of Russian stock market and other financial markets start to belong to Central Bank of Russia. Speaking about the specific way of regulation of the stock market, we have to consider that previously FFMS and now the Central Bank of Russia are dealing with all major activities, including the regulation of emission of stocks, including the shares and of course the governmental bonds, including the trading of all types of stocks at the Russian stock market, and also including the issues of supervision of any activity dealing with the stock exchange. Russian stock market is pretty much regulated, and the ability of foreign brokers or broker companies to participate at the Russian stock market is limited by 25% only due to the capital. In other functions which are played by Central Bank of Russia now in terms of the regulation of Russian stock market, dealing with the proposals to the Russian government and the legislative organs in terms of improving the regulation and laws dealing with the stock market. Also, another important function to promote the understanding by the business and the public of their stock market issues, and the insurance of information sharing between the companies which are participated in the stock market and interested in that activity. And also Central Bank of Russia is now dealing with the organization of the analysis and statistics of Russian stock market. Now have a look at the reference list.